Hey everybody, this is Josh back with the Dubbin Brothers. Today we're going to tie for you a soft hackle pheasant tail. This is just a variation that I've tied a lot this spring. It's a little heavy, helps it get down. You can fish it in a dry dropper rig or point fly in a Euro rig, whatever you feel like. The hook that we're going to tie it on is a size 14 carb shank barbless hook. Put a 3.5mm bead on the fly, and then 6 wraps of 015 lead. And then we've got just our classic pheasant tail. The fibers on these are really long, makes it really easy to tie. We're going to rib it with some small copper wire. The color of the wire doesn't really matter. A lot of people will fuss at me because my bead and my wire don't match, but I don't really care. And then the dubbing that we're going to use for the thorax of the fly is Arizona synthetic and Peacock. And then the soft tackle I'm going to use is White River Hen Cape in brown. I really like this one for more of like a general kind of buggy imitation. I also tie a lot of flies with this Whiting Hebert Minor in a dark gray dun. That one's a little bit more specific for like a bluing olive or something darker like that. But you can use whatever feather matches your bugs. So I got my hook and my bead and my lead all rigged up here already. So I will start, and the thread I'm using is some Danville 7 denier in red. I like to add just a little bit of a red kind of hot spot right in front of the soft tackle on the head of the fly. And so the way that I like to do this, because sometimes tying with lead can be a little tricky, is I'll start my thread and make a bit of a taper going up to the lead, and then I will wrap right up to the eye of the fly or the bead. I'll take my copper wire and I actually seat that copper wire in the bead so it lays over the lead, and then that actually gives me a little bit smoother of a ramp going down the fly. So I'll wrap that all the way down to the bend of the hook and take a few pheasant tail fibers. Most of the time, it depends on the size of the fly, but I tie with 3 or 4 pretty much all the time. These are pretty long fibers, and so it makes it easier. There's 4 right there. And I'll start by tying in the tail of the fly. And I want my tail to be about the length of the shank of the hook. It's like right in there. A little short's okay, a little long's okay. I prefer a short over long, but that's just kind of a personal preference. So I get that tied in with 2 tight wraps, and then wrap my thread all the way to the eye. Throw a half hitch in here, and I do that because I have a rotary vise, and so I'll take that and rotate that pheasant tail. And if your lead is, or if your copper wire is kind of long, it gets in the way, but we can work past that. So I'll wrap that pheasant tail all the way up to the bead, tie it off. 2 wraps behind, 2 wraps in front, and then 1 behind and 1 in front. And then I'll snip that off and throw another half hitch in there. And the way you wrap your wire is kind of personal preference too. I counter rib mine. A lot of people don't. I don't know that it makes a huge difference. And it makes it just a little bit tougher to tie it in at the bead because that wire is going the opposite direction of your thread wraps. But I just do 1 extra wrap over top and behind, make sure that it's locked in there, and then you can break that off. And then I'll take a pinch of my dubbing. And I want this to be like fairly visible behind my soft tackle, so I'll do a little bit bigger thorax than I normally would on a fly this size. Make sure that there's plenty of that scraggle effect going on behind the bead there. So I'll start it a little further back and then wrap my soft tackle up to the bead. I've already got a feather picked out here. So what I'm going to do is take a pair of hackle pliers and grab the tip of the feather like that, and then I'll sweep all these fibers back so that I have a nice little triangle at the tip of the feather. And I'll take that, I'll tie it in right behind the bead. And a lot of people like to cut that triangle before they tie it in. I like to leave that triangle just a little bit long, especially with a hen cape like this. The feathers have pretty thin stems, and they break pretty easy. So I want to leave as much in there for that thread to grab as I can. And then I'll slowly start wrapping that forward. And I want to make sure that I like kind of pull the fibers a little bit so that they all go back. Don't really have any reaching over the bead. And I just make one wrap. I like my soft hackles to be pretty sparse. Pull everything back. Make a few wraps in there. And then I will take my scissors and cut that out. Kind of floof everything up. And then I'll make like a few thread wraps right behind the bead so I get that hot spot, and then throw a 3-turn whip finish in it. Cut my thread. And that's all there is to it. If you guys like it, hit the like button, make sure to subscribe, punch that notification bell. Thanks for watching.